Alright, let's continue with these problems. So we're going to shade all of this in here. I'll just shade using the black. So you're going to shade all below. So when it looks nice and pretty, it's going to look like that. You're shading all below and on the outside of that parabola for number one. I'll try this one. You hit your y equals button, you hit clear, and then you could retype. In this problem, it's 1x squared minus 2x plus 3. You type that in, you graph your coordinates like we've done in the past, you connect them, and now we're going to shade. I'm going to shade using this. So, greater than. My fault. Greater than, since its y is greater than x squared, we got to shade above. So, above that coordinate's up here, above this point's up here, above this point is here, above this point is here, above this point is here. So, our goal is to shade above. So it's all filled in. So, nice pretty version, it looks like that. And it's all shaded in. And that's probably the best idea, is to print out the PDF if you have a printer at home. So it's a little bit easier to graph all these inequalities and shade them for when you do your multiple choice there with the Google Forms. Alright, number 3. You have y is less than negative x squared. Well, less than, well, you graphed your quadratic equation. Less than, you know, was lower than these points here. So I'm going to click some points that are lower than our parabola. And that tells us which way we need to shade. And we got to shade on the inside. Because those, all my points, those new points are made on the inside. That's why we shade on the inside. Here's what it looks like, nice and pretty. Here's our next equation. Y is greater than or equal to 2x squared minus 4x. So we hit our y equals button. We type in this equation. We hit the graph button to see that what our graph is going to look like. Then we hit second graph and we get a table. And we're going to plot those coordinates on the table. So we get a parabola looking like this. Now this is y is greater than or equal to 2x squared minus 4x. Since it's greater than, we're going to shade above. So above that point, above that point, above this point, above that point. So this guy's on the inside. So it's above. Since this point here, we shade above. That's how I knew it was on the inside. So that's what our answers looks like. Number 5, we have y is less than or equal to 1x squared plus 2x plus 3. Since it's less than, I go below each one of these points that we made before when we graphed it. And since it's below, that means I'm shading all on the outside out here. So we shade all on that outside, and it looks like that. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing with quadratic inequalities with vertex form. So it's the same thing, it's just presented a little bit differently, as we already talked about before. So we have y is less than or equal to negative 2, parentheses x minus 3, close parentheses, squared plus 1. Now the parentheses are very important because that's what makes vertex form, is using these parentheses and having it in this style. So what I need you to do is on your graphing calculator, hit your graph button, or sorry, hit the y equals button. I want you to clear the graph that we just did. So clear that top equation. Then type in negative 2 parentheses x minus 3, close parentheses, squared plus 1. Type that in exactly the way you see it with those parentheses. Once you do that, hit the graph button you'll see what the graph looks like, just like you see here. Then, to get these exact coordinates, you hit second graph to get to that table, and you could graph those coordinates using the table. Now, y is less than or equal to -2. Well, less than, so each one of these dots, less than is below. Less than is below. Is below. So y is less than or equal to -2. We're going to shade on the inside. And that's our answer for the number 6. Here's the pretty version. Number 7, y is less than or equal to parentheses x plus 2 close parentheses squared minus 3. So hit your y equals button, clear the calculator. Type this one in parentheses x plus 2 close parentheses squared minus 3. You type that in, hit your graph button. And you see what the graph looks like. Then hit second graph, you get the table, and you can plot those coordinates. So y is less than or equal to. So now that all our coordinates are graphed, we connected them up. Less than is below. So we're going to click a dot below that one. This dot below is here. From this dot, below is there. Below is here. And below is there. So all these dots are on the outside of the parabola. So that means we're going to shade on the outside of this parabola. So a nice pretty version, it's going to look like this. Let's look at number 8 here. Y is less than parentheses x plus 1 close parentheses squared plus 4. We type that into our graphing calculator like we've been doing in the past. We see what the parabola looks like. Y is less than. Well, less than, below, 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 below. Less than, remember, this is also a dashed line. So we gotta make sure we're careful with that. Since these are all below, connect them up. And you see that you got a shade on the outside. Because all those points are below, and it's on the outside of the parabola. Got the pretty version, looks like that. Notice here that they made a dashed parabola. Next up, number 9. We have y is less than or equal to 3 parentheses x minus 4 squared minus 4. So you have our parabola here. Using your graphic calculator, you can get those coordinates, plot the coordinates, connect them up. Y is less than or equal to, well, less than. So we make our dots below each individual coordinates that we graphed before. Below, below, below. And we see that they're all on the outside, so we connect them up on the outside. Here's what it looks like, a little bit prettier. So it's shaded all on the outside. Is less than or equal to, so it's a solid line in a parabola. Number 10. Y is less than or equal to parentheses x minus 2 close parentheses squared minus 3. So less than. Less than, well, we first graphed our parabola. We plotted our points. We connected them up. It's a solid line because there's a solid line underneath. Less than, less than, less than, and less than. It's below because less than is below. We connect them up and we shade. A nice pretty version right there. That's what it looks like for number 10. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this video helps you. If you have any questions, give me an email. Send me an email, that is. Or come to Extra Help after school. I'll be happy to help you out. Alright, and have yourself a good night.